Well, good morning my lovelies, and welcome to a slightly overcast, slightly breezy but very warm Monday morning. I hope you're all well. Well, we've come into the last 10 days of August. September's just around the corner. The burr months are here nearly, and the autumn equinox will be with us soon. Exciting times. So lovelies, today I thought I would do a thing about the Pendle witch trials. Now I know it was on the 20th and I know I'm a little late, but better late than never. Everybody knows about the Salem witch trials. It's one of the most famous ones. Some of us know about the Pendle witch trials, but not all of us. And some of us know about the Scottish witches. But I thought we'd have a little look at the Pendle witch trials. So, Pendle Hill is in the east of Lancashire in England. It's a wild and untamed place, and it's famous for the Pendle witch trials. So, how did it all begin? Well, we all know that witch hunts were quite rife in England and in Europe. Religious factors had drummed it into people that witches lived amongst them and they danced with the devil and did deals with the devil, and therefore should be put to death because there was no room for a witch in God's house. A young lass called Alison Device publicly cursed a traveller on the road because she asked him to sell her some pins and he refused. Not long afterwards, this poor traveller had a stroke. Now, what you've got to remember is strokes were not understood in them days, not like they are today. So because she'd cursed him and he fell ill and had a stroke, they put two and two together, made 600, and accused her of being a witch, which he did. When he was found, he accused her of being a witch and cursing him. She was then later arrested, and when questioned, she said she had cursed him and he had become ill because of witchcraft. But in her confession, she also named 3 other people, because she thought, well, if I'm going to hang, then the rest of them can come with me. She named a lady called Old Demdike, who was the head of the Demdike family. She also named another lady called Mother Chattocks, who was the head of the rival family, and these two families had a long history of feuding together. And she also named a lady called Anne Redfern. Now, all these 3 ladies, including Alison, was then taken and imprisoned in Lancaster Castle. Once the Demdike family and friends had heard about this, they decided that they were going to have a meeting and they were going to try and work out the best way to get them out of there, because they didn't believe they were witches, so they needed to get them out. Unfortunately, the local authorities got wind of it and they rounded up 8 people who were at the meeting and accused them of witchcraft. So that put the total up to 12 people, all accused of witchcraft. They were then taken, along with Alison, to Lancaster Castle. And the trials took place between the 18th and the 19th of August of 1612. They were not allowed a lawyer, and they were not allowed to call any witnesses to defend them, because that's how it was in them days. There was a lot of he said, she said, finger pointing amongst the accused, because I would imagine that they were all trying to save their own skin, and a lot of them were feuding families. So if one family could save the skin by putting another family to death, then that meant less of them to deal with, I suppose. But the most crushing evidence of all came from a 9-year-old child called Janet Devices. She accused not only her mother, but other family members and friends of witchcraft, which then sealed their fate. Because in the eyes of the law of them times, a child was the closest thing and the purest thing to God, so whatever came out of a child's mouth was true. Out of the 12 arrested people, 9 were found guilty of witchcraft. Elizabeth Device, Alison Device, James Device, Anne Whittle Chattox, Anne Redford, Jane Bullock, John Bullock, Catherine Hewitt and Alice Nutter. They were sentenced to death, and they were walked through the city from Lancaster Castle up to the moors above the city where they were all hung. Old Demdike died in prison due to the bad conditions. Janet Preston was from Yorkshire, so she was sent to Yorkshire, sentenced, tried and hung for witchcraft. Alice Gray was the only one not found of witchcraft and let go. As for Janet Devices, the 9-year-old child, it is said she was accused of being a witch years later. What goes around comes around. Pendle today has become a popular place for walkers and those following the footsteps of the witches. There is a statue of Alice Nutter in shackles on her way to trial in the village of Roughly at the foot of Pendle Hills. So there you go. These poor innocent people who were just trying to get by in life and get along and do their daily chores or whatever, all because of one person and the misinformation of people, was accused of witchcraft, was tortured, was sent to trial, and it didn't matter how much begging and pleading they did and how much they tried to convince the jury, who were probably all men, in fact they were all men, in the eyes of the community, in the eyes of the men who were guiding the trial, these people were witches, and therefore there was no room in society for these witches, and then they were put to death. And it's just a sad state of affairs. It really is, that this was the kind of misinformation these people were given and believed. And unfortunately, even in this day and age, in a lot of cultures, whether they be, predominantly known cultures or tribes of some description, witches are still feared and witch hunters are still practiced. So yes, it's still much a sad state of affairs that people are persecuted for witchcraft, when all they probably really know are herbs that actually heal. So my lovelies, give a little thought to the Pendle witches this month. It's an unfortunate event that should never have happened. So we're going to go home for a cup of tea and a potter about, and I hope you all have a very, very blessed day. Please look after yourselves. If you're struggling with anything, please reach out, because there's always somebody there that will help you. Look after one another, it's very important. And if nothing else in this world, lovelies, please be kind, because you don't know what that other person's going through that stood next to you. And as always, I'm sending you all much love and many blessings.